Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the cross stitching runner, and welcome to my channel. I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. And if by chance you've stumbled across this channel is all about cross stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in. And today is Saturday, the 13th of September. I am trying to do a weekly catch up of the stitching that I'm doing, at least for the month of September. This is a bit of a trial just to see how things go, and I would love your feedback on whether or not this is something that you're enjoying from me, or if this is something where I need to head back to fortnightly, if not monthly, recordings, because I totally appreciate that we have so many wonderful floss tubers that are releasing some really great content, and it makes it really tough to be able to catch up with everyone that we want to in the time frame that we want. So with that in mind, I'd love if you could just drop me a comment about whether you want fortnightly, weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, whatever recordings are needed, noting that I will also try to fit that within my schedule as well. So again, I would love your feedback, pardon me, on that. I also want to acknowledge that Peggy Still Stitching is a wonderful person who had gifted me the fabric that I was drawing a blank on last episode on the piece I'm stitching called Patient Stitcher. So I just wanted to acknowledge that before we all jump into the stitching that I've been doing since we last caught up. So without further ado, let's jump into the stitching that I've been doing for the last week. The first piece that I have to share with you is also a new start. I started this on Tuesday, the 9th of September. It is called Apothocary Shop by the Witchy Stitcher, and in one of the corners up here is the cover page of what Apothocary Shop will look like when it's finished. Now, I've decided to take some creative liberties, so to speak, with this piece. As we can see, I am not stitching this in the recommended DMC 310 or any other version of black by the different brands that we have available to us. I'm stitching this on 18 count Ada. It's just an 18 count Ada. It's called Pumpkin by Paddock Lane Designs. And the thread that I'm stitching this with, at least for the border, is a, pardon me, croaky throat. It is a Brindabella Threads variegated thread. Sorry, I'm going to get rid of this croaky throat. Thank you very much for your patience with that. I'm experiencing some technical difficulties at the moment, and I've needed to re-record this little segment quite a few times to the point where I am starting to forget where my train of thoughts had been when I first needed to take the pause to have a sip of water. So I'm just going to keep moving on, and thank you for following me with this journey and very odd train of thinking. So the next piece that I have to share with you is called the Haloween Quaker. It is by Lila Studio, and I'm just going to rotate this around to then share with you the cover page of Quaker. So this is part of why I was quakering in my boots last episode, because I bit the bullet and made a start on Haloween Quaker. And this is where I'm up to so far. I'm stitching this on a 36 count linen, and it has been dyed rather by Paddock Lane Designs, and this particular fabric is called Turbulent. I am using the recommended floss as a guide rather than a must use for this particular piece. Last episode, I had mentioned that I'm trying to use a lot of the flosses that I've either purchased throughout the years as individual flosses or purchased as part of, or I guess unknowingly purchased. They've been included in stitching boxes that I'd purchased or have purchased over the years. So I wanted to try and make the most of those flosses and try and bring out the beautiful colors that are in this fabric as well. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you that I have been working on, sorry, let's pause and backtrack for a little bit. With Haloween Quaker, I know that on one day I put 577 stitches into it because I really wanted to finish off that little motif that has the pumpkins in it. I have also, what have I also done? I've done a lot of things, but specifically, yes, so it was Saturday, 6th, I put 577 stitches in and then paused for a little while and then, nope, looks like it was just that. It's all good. So the next piece that I have to share with you is called His Master's Voice Mini, and it's based on artwork by Lisa Parker that has been charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And let's get this rotated. Here we are. This is roughly what it will look like when it's done. This piece I've been working on for quite some time. Well, quite some time in a sense that it was started a few years ago, and it's roughly this time every year that I bring it out. I'm stitching this on 25 count easy grid fabric. This has a mixture of 2/2, 2/1, 1/1, and gosh, it probably even has a little bit of 3/10 stitch as well. Anyway, this is my test piece, so to speak, of what is working for me and what's not in terms of coverage. So I've put a few hours into this and focused mostly towards the bottom where we're starting to see a little bit more of the Ouija board. Okay, so before this particular software crashes yet again, let's save this little bit. Okay, so the next piece that I have to share with you is called Haloween Treats 2 and is charted by Tilton Crafts. And this is roughly what it will look like when it's done. With this week that we've just had, I've spent maybe a couple of hours at the most on it, and this is where I'm at so far. I've spent most of my time working on the pumpkin that we see starting to take shape. I'm stitching this on 28 count even weave, I believe. And the annoying thing with this particular chart is that it includes the grey corners and such that we see in the background. And that's why I've chosen to start in the middle of the fabric here, because I really don't want to stitch those grey toned areas because to me they're just boring. They don't enhance the piece in any way, shape or form. So the next piece that I have to share with you is called I Am a Custodian. And this is roughly what it will look like when it's done. And this is where I'm up to so far. So with I Am a Custodian, I spent most of my time yesterday working on this piece, and I have put 440 stitches into it. Now, this particular piece came out, even though it's not really anything to do with Halloween stitching or spooky stitching or anything to that effect, because yesterday I took myself to the movies and I went to see Downton Abbey, the grand finale. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything like that, because I trust that some of the people who are watching this episode are going to want to see the movie, or you may have already seen it by the time this particular episode has been released. So, what I will say is that watching the previous movies, especially, will make the world of difference to understanding some of the in jokes that are said or shown in the movie, or even just understanding what they're talking about, so to speak, because the grand finale does reference quite closely to the new era, or the next era movie that was released however much time before the grand finale. And I actually did it watched it the other way around, where yesterday I watched the grand finale, and then when I came home I made a point of watching the next era, or next era Downton Abbey movie. And the penny dropped a lot for me in terms of understanding some of the references that the characters made, and understanding how certain characters got to the next stage of their lives, and such. So that helped a lot to watch that. So I just wanted to acknowledge all of that. It was really good to have a few hours out and about to go and see the movie, because it was a couple of years ago since, yeah, it has been roughly 2 years at least, maybe longer, since I went to see any movie. And that that actually I feel disappointed by. However, going to see the Downton Abbey movie yesterday helped me to appreciate and realize how much of an influence the streaming services have made on going to the movies and the movie experience in general. And I feel really sad and disappointed for the younger generations. So I'm talking about Generation Alpha and some of the Gen Z people, because from, I think, the millennial generation that I'm part of, and older, we all have these fond memories of going to the movies, and all the movie posters that are being up on the walls, and then the excitement of walking past all those movie posters to then see all the different movies that you wanted to go and see in months to come, and then eventually getting a ticket, and then eventually getting a seat, settling down to watch the movie. And then the lead up to the movie, you then get to see some of the previews of the movie posters that you might have seen in the hallways leading up to where you're going to the actual theatre, or anything like that. And I was really disappointed with yesterday in that sense, where it may have just been the actual theatre that I went to, that maybe there weren't any, I don't know. I'm not going to overanalyze it. I'm just saying that I was disappointed with the actual movie theatre that I went to yesterday, that there wasn't any of that kind of fanfare, that there weren't any movie posters up, or anything like that. And I just thought it was quite sad. The other thing was that the movie, the doors opened at 20 past 10. In theory, the movie was maybe meant to start at about 10:30. The room darkened and things started appearing on the screen at 10:30, and for nearly 15 minutes, just ads. There might have been, in between some of the ads, the previews for some movies, and that was about it. We then got to see the movie, which was the main thing. It was just a disappointing experience in that sense. And I hope that it was just that one instance, and I'm sure there'll be other movies that I'll go and see and watch. And I hope that future times that I go out, that there will be those movie posters to advertise upcoming movies and all the rest. However, let's get back to the cross stitching because that's what we are truly here for. That was just a side note that I really wanted to share with you. And I'm just wondering if it's just an Aussie thing that our movie theatres are in decline or if it's a worldwide thing as well. I don't know. But I'm going to hit save here because, again, the technical issues are still happening. The next piece that I have to share with you is called Under the Sea. Again, it's not quite fitting within the theme of the spooky stitching for October. However, it is a piece that I need to bring out of the naughty corner because with the recent stitching that I've done on Under the Sea, and I will include a colour picture of this as well because this particular photocopy page doesn't quite do it justice. So as we can see, I purchased this from Lakeside Needlecraft and it has been exclusively designed by Durene Jones. Now, this particular piece has been in the naughty corner because I found out that I can't count. I need to go back to school and learn how to count and potentially get my eyes checked while I'm at it. So, this is where I'm at so far. I'm stitching this on 28 count opalescent fabric called Tropical by memory? Tropical Ocean. And it has been hand dyed by Paddy Klein Designs. Now, the good thing is that the reason why this piece is in the naughty corner is not obvious, and I'm going to need to do some significant fudging to help the rest of the piece fit around the mistake that I've made because if I continue to follow the pattern as is and not quite work with or probably work around the mistake that I've made, it's going to throw the rest of the pattern out, which is something that is going to annoy me. So I'm stitching this 2/2 using all of the called for colours. The main area that I was working on was I guess one of the plants that from behind, it makes me think of a cactus. That's the best way I can put it. It has the shape like a cactus, and there is the clam that looks like it's got a small pearl sitting within it. So it was those areas that I was working on the most. And for anyone who was new and hasn't seen any of my earlier episodes, just a quick synopsis or brief explanation. Under the Sea, I'm aiming to have finished by the end of this year, if not early next year, so I can enter it into the Canberra Royal Show. Now, sorry, I don't know what's going on with me right now. The next piece that I have to share with you is another new start, which I am super excited about because I've had this chart in my collection for a little while now, maybe a few months at the most. When Heaven and Earth Designs had a sale, and this was before tariffs and all of that fun stuff. And this particular chart, I know that I've shown a few months. No, it feels like a few months ago, but it was more like about a month or two ago at the most. So this is called Mini, or the Rusty Cauldron Mini, and it's based on artwork by Lisa Parker. And this is roughly what it'll look like when it's done. And the really cool thing is that I've seen a couple of people who have been working on this piece as well. By memory, it is Crafty Emily who I've seen working on this piece a little bit, and I've also seen another Aussie floss tuber called Fun with Cross Stitch is her channel, and I've loved seeing their both their progress on that piece, and it has been part of my inspiration for why I wanted to make a start. Now, as with all starts of anything, they just look like splashes of colour, don't really look like anything. So I want to acknowledge that I have started in the centre of this piece. And so what this means is we are seeing a cat's ear and the side of its head. Now, to put into context, I'm going to fold this fabric up just a little bit and see if I can get uh, it to be almost side by side, so you can get a bit of an idea of where exactly I'm stitching. This isn't going to work very well, so I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can sort of see. Okay, so I'm working on the cat's ear that is closest to the shop window, and I'm working on a part of the side of its head where you've got the glow of the shop reflecting on the side of the cat's head. That's the area that I'm working on. And I started. So when did I start this piece? It was it's within the last few days anyway. It has been really nice making a start on the rusty cauldron. Also noting that this is 25 count easy grid fabric. Okay, now the next piece that I have to share with you is one that I've been working on again just roughly this time of year. I think I started this last year, and it is called the Headless Horseman. It's a chart by Witchy Stitcher, and let's get the cover page brought up. Oh no, I want to rephrase. So Headless Horseman is by Unconventional X Stitch. That is what I want to acknowledge. So this is roughly what it'll look like when it's done. And I've got some part threads. This is where I'm up to so far. Noting that again, I'm stitching this on 25 count easy grid fabric. Okay, now the last piece. Yes, the last piece that I have to share with you is a bit of a mixed bag in the sense that I purchased a chart from an Etsy store that no longer exists because I believe that they got found out as being in breach of copyright. And I want to acknowledge that when I had first purchased this piece, I hadn't fully realised that it had been a breach of copyright because the person who charted it had stolen the picture from Randal Spangler and then adjusted it slightly, and then claimed it as their own artwork. So the cover page that I'm going to share with you is what I believe to be the true or the original artwork, so to speak, and it is known as Trick or Treat 2, based on artwork by Randal Spangler, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And this is roughly what it'll look like when it's done. Now, I love that there are other people stitching this piece as well. So whenever I see this piece out and about being shown, it gives me the encouragement and urge to bring that out and get it done. Now, okay, this is where I'm up to so far. I am very close to the edge Okay, I'm getting very close to the edge of how wide this piece will be. So this is where I'm up to. I've been focusing mostly over on this side. So this is where the moon is going to be. Then over here we've still got some more of the night sky and the branches and leaves and that kind of thing. The really tricky thing with the chart that I'm using for that piece is that it recommends to stitch the piece on 16 count or 32 count fabric or something very, or 32, 36 count, 32 count fabric, which if I were stitching it on 32 count fabric, then the petite stitches that they um, suggest on the chart would make life a lot easier. Now I am stitching that on 16 count or 18 count fabric, and I'm going to need to fudge it a bit to actually do the stitches that are shown on the chart, and it's going to require some creative flair that I trust my abilities to be able to do. That's no fuss. The annoying bit is just going to figure out how it's going to actually work. Uh, and the specialty, not the specialty stitching, but the funky stitching is going to be around the witch that's flying across the moon. That's going to be the pain in the butt, but it is what it is. I'm annoyed that that has occurred, and it's something that is really hard to try and monitor. I now know, and I've learned my lesson, and I know to do my research better when I'm going to purchase a pattern from Etsy. So that is that for all of my stitching. I'm going to save here because, again, technology has not been my friend today. Well, that timing worked out really well because Michael's now back from fishing and we're now at the end of our Flosstube episode. So thank you again so much for spending some time with me and seeing what projects I've been working on for the last week. I would absolutely love your feedback on whether or not these weekly formats are working well, or if you prefer fortnightly or monthly, because I definitely, again, appreciate that there are so many other amazing floss tubers out there that it is quite tough to keep up with everyone and catch up on what they're working on. So again, I'd love your feedback, please. Just drop me a comment, and that will mean the world to me to be able to receive some kind of feedback from you guys. And even if it's not just about the frequency of these Flosstube episodes, it can be anything, whether it be um, the, the projects I'm working on. Like, do you want more variety or do you want consistency? Because that's something that I know I'm trying to work on as well, to actually be consistent. One of the phrasings that I used to use was I'm consistently inconsistent, in the sense that I would consistently show up. I would just be inconsistent in terms of many other elements that fed into a given situation. So, again, feedback, any comments that you've got would be absolutely wonderful. I am very much working on trying to improve on how I respond to comments as well. That has been part of my learning journey with regards to YouTube and how things work and all the rest. So thank you for being patient with me as well. And I hope you have a great stitching week timing, and I will catch up with you soon. See you all later.